Yeah, so as soon as people get in here. Oh, yeah, there you go. Everybody get in here. I should probably get off my. I think Cody was going to do my dragons here in a second, so.
Who'd you pick?
Tua and Mike Gesicki.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I, I didn't have a lot of choices. I could have done Baker, but I feel like Baker was going to be fine without it.
Yeah, Bowen was pretty much my only choice for this year. Though anyone that would actually play, like I could have done it for like Jenkins, I guess. But
Traquan Smith could have. I thought maybe you might go Traquan Smith.
so I thought about it, but he's pretty much my fourth wide receiver because I actually want to try to be okay. And Harris being like, I couldn't justify Harris being anywhere higher than fourth, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let's see. It looks like we got a couple people in here. Will here on an alternate. Oh, Will's on his alt. Will's on his burner.
Oh, so Will's got a burner. Makes sense.
Yeah.
People who like Ghost of Tsushima should have a burner,
Also,
so
I'm
nobody knows who
streaming
they
that
are.
game. Couple people. Oh, we got six.
All right, let's start it.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome back to another podcast, guys. Kyle and Sam again. We're gonna do previews this time, so yeah, get ready for a long podcast again because these take a while.
Yep. Welcome to year two, everybody.
Yeah, yep. Thanks
Feels
for everybody
feels like
for
year
a good
one
season.
was like just yesterday, and we were all viciously debating about the sliders. And now I think they're in a good place. And we have Will, who Super Bowl champ Will, using his burner account. So
Yeah.
things can only go up from here.
Also, shout out to Sorelio for winning GM of the year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Good job, Cerulio. Well
Made a
deserved
lot of
for
moves.
sure.
It was a tight vote between Sorelio and Will, so you know. But yeah, so we'll get started with the AFC North.
Yeah, so we'll start off with the. You want to start off with the Bengals, or do you want to start off with?
Yep,
the,
we'll start off with the Bang. We'll start off
yeah,
with the
we'll,
Bengals.
yeah, we'll just go GM of the year, Cerulio. From what I saw, I didn't really feel like he lost anybody of significance to free agency in the offseason. He did sign running back Philip Lindsay, left tackle Brian Beluga, left guard Matt Paredes, Brandon Graham, DJ Redder, and Melvin Ingram. In addition to drafting center Creed Humphrey, Cirillo really made an impact on the offensive line this offseason, which is what I felt like he desperately needed to protect Joe Burrow. So he also has a nice complimentary back now to Joe Mixon. So I feel like
For
the
sure.
Bengals are in a really solid place in year two under Cirillo, especially with the trades he made last season, along with his free agency as well.
Yeah, shout out to Cirillo because this team is going to be dangerous going forward. He's got a bunch of guys who are really good. He could have another one who could make a claim to having some of the best receivers in our league. Just going through and looking at them, he's got Keenan Allen, X Factor Keenan Allen, John Ross, on Tate, Superstar T Higgins, and then depth guys. But these guys with Joe Burrow and the improvements to the offensive line along with that running game should make the Bengals a legit contender, I think, this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I would expect the Bengals to at least get a wild card slot, and you never really know, if someone gets injured on either the Steelers or the Ravens, we could have the Bengals jump up to maybe actually competing for the division. If you want to point out, I guess one weak spot with the Bengals, it's that secondary. Mackenzie Alexander and William Jackson III just don't, you know, really strike fear into the opposing receiving core. He did draft Eric Stokes, rookie 72 overall corner. He also
Yeah.
drafted a 68 and Elijah Griffin as well. So the secondary, I would say, is the weak part of that team. But I would say he does have an above average pass rush with Atkins and Ingram and Brandon Graham. Uh, my favorite part, he
Isn't that
also,
he doesn't have Ingram anymore. He didn't that is a loss he had. He doesn't have
oh, it doesn't, it shows
Ingram
up on his
this
depth chart. On mine, it does
uh
anyway.
not on unless he's playing outside linebacker. Oh,
Mm.
he is. Okay, never mind.
That's
He's playing outside linebacker. I was like, okay, so yeah, he still has Ingram. He brought him back. I know that he was in free agency, but
right. He also drafted the other Xavier Thomas, which his name is Tavir Examus, which I think is
yeah,
is
yeah,
fantastic.
he asked today if he could switch it. And I was like, go ahead, man. I don't. It doesn't matter to me. But
Right.
yeah, I think this is a team that's gonna compete for at least a wild card spot. I wouldn't be surprised if both the wild card or two of the wild card spots go to the AFC North. This is a dangerous division.
For sure. Moving
Um,
on to the Browns, this team had a pretty interesting offseason moving on from Baker Mayfield at quarterback and also shipping Odell Beckham to the Rams. They traded for Daniel Jones, brought in Jamie Newman from Georgia, also signed D Ford and Alex Anelzone along with KJ Wright. They drafted Chuba Hubbard, which was
yeah,
pretty surprising to me. So I don't know if the Browns are going to
I,
try to move on from either Chubb or Hunt or both. But to
yeah,
me,
I
that's something that you don't do unless like you have other sets involved. And he did draft Devontae Smith as well as that OBJ replacer. Also got Paulson Adebo, the cornerback from Stanford. Um,
yo,
so
yeah,
overall, not a bad off season at all. Kind of taking a step back. Maybe saw that the Ravens were going to be really good, and the Steelers, who we're going to talk about in a second, also got better. So I don't
I
blame
just
him.
it's just an odd off season for me
Yeah,
because he just re-signed Kareem Hunt. So are you going to eat the 16 million in penalty to move on? Now Nick Chubb, you can easily move on. He's gonna be up for re-sign this season, so you can trade him, and you're not gonna eat a lot of cap. But it just for me, this is an odd move to draft Chuba with those guys.
agreed.
And
Other
we'll
than
get
that,
to weird moves with running backs, but
yeah. I mean, and his team still is solid. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't think Jamie Newman is going to be like a top three rookie QB by any means, but you know, he Jamie Newman is going to have some weapons with the three running backs we mentioned. Austin Hooper is a 90 at tight end. Devontae Smith is probably going to be good as the number one. Landry's a target machine. Um, this
yeah, he's
offense
got
still could be pretty good, but it could also go the other way where, he's got some really good pieces on the offense. Like he could definitely move on if he wanted to. Especially
yeah,
on the
this
offensive
it's
line, he's got some good ones that people could want.
yeah, he made moves, we'll see how they pan out. It's not the worst offseason I've ever seen, but it's just an odd one to me, but all right, we'll go to the Steelers now and take a look at a team that I think had one of the best off seasons.
Agreed.
So quarterback Aaron Rodgers. This disparity between the starter and the backup worries me a little bit. If
Yeah,
there's an injury,
it's not ideal, but at the same time, if you're the Steelers and you lose Aaron Rodgers, it probably doesn't matter who your backup is anyway.
right?
So it might as well be a
Uh,
51 overall rookie.
for sure. Um, he also brought in Matt Breida.
Yeah, I'm a
Um,
little salty over because I wanted Matt Breida and I was told that he wasn't available. which is why.
Well, okay. To be fair, didn't realize Najee Harris was going to fall to be in the middle of the second round. I figured at some point, because he fell to my third pick in the second round, so I had to take him.
My
You know,
still
I
stands.
was prepared. I was prepared to ride Mad Breida for another season, but yeah, he he brought in a lot of guys this season. Did the Steelers? He's
Yep,
got
including corner Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. So
yep,
he's got
yep,
really shored up that secondary.
yeah. And he even signed Mike Hilton to be his no, so he's got guys.
Yeah, I would.
He uh, he obviously only had the one draft pick that he used on. Well, that's not left guard. Maybe did he
Yeah,
or did he move
I
him?
think he's playing him at left guard, but it has his
He's
as right
right,
guard. I'm pretty sure.
right. He's a right tackle.
Okay.
A 60 overall, nothing special, but this could be a problem for him. His offensive line, he just traded for Jansen, so that's good. But I mean, it's not great outside of Villanueva and Jansen. It's pretty spotty.
Right. It's not great, but I'll say this, as as good as his skill position players are, I think it's going to be his defense that really carries the Steelers this year. I mean, Tuitt, Hayward on the defensive line, PJ Hall at defensive tackle is whatever, but you also have, I mean, TJ Watt, Devin Bush, and Sampson from the Rams that he traded for. Like that's one of the best linebacking cores in the AFC. And now you have Lattimore and Hilton
Right.
along with Minka and Terrell Edmonds. I think this defense is going to be really good. But if,
Yeah.
like you said, the offensive line is definitely a problem.
But Matt Breida knows something about running behind a bad offensive line.
There you
So,
go.
so on to the Ravens. They fell just short of making a real run in the playoffs as they fell to the Chiefs last season. This was a team I thought was definitely in the running to be a Super Bowl champ. They didn't sign Quan Alexander. They had traded for him in last offseason.
Right.
Um, but they drafted Justin Ross because they're jerks and they took my guy 3 picks before I could get him. Um, uh, Lamar McDaniels out of Arizona and uh, Jay Tufele out of somewhere. I don't know what college he went to, but
Yeah,
um,
really with this team, it was all about internal development. They weren't really in a position to go get somebody in the off season. This team still is good and like they could win a Super Bowl this
oh
year,
yeah,
and it wouldn't really surprise anybody. I believe Lamar has to get paid. Is it next off season? Not this upcoming off
uh,
season, but next off season.
if he didn't use his 5th year option, it's this offseason. I will let
Okay.
you. So he used the 5th year, so it's next offseason. He
Okay.
will have to
Okay. That
pay
makes
him.
sense.
And
Right.
looking around at what the contracts have been that have been floating around, 6 years, 220 million for Deshaun Watson. Lamar's about to get paid.
Yeah, if it was me, I almost would have rather go ahead and bitten the bullet now and just go ahead and start
Yeah,
paying him. Unless he didn't have the cap to make it work, then I get it, trying to extend that year. I guess my question, with this team is, you know, Mark Ingram kind of didn't play J.K. Dobbins a whole lot last year, so I'm a little curious at how the Baltimore run game is going to do this season. Obviously, when you have Lamar, that can pretty much be your run game. Um,
for sure.
and the offensive line is like, yeah, it's okay. Like he definitely has some good pieces, but I think he's also starting a couple of 60 overalls on that offensive line. So keeping Lamar right, obviously is going to be super important. I'm honestly a little surprised with the Justin Ross pick. No, I'm not surprised that he went and got a receiver. I'm surprised that it was Justin Ross. I'm a little surprised he didn't go get somebody else. Because
I think, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
because you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe guys like Devontae Smith were still on the board.
No, they were gone.
Was he gone? Okay.
He was gone. Yeah, because Cody had me make his pick for him, and he wanted me to take Devontae Smith, but he was gone. I guess the one thing is I'll say is Ross is different than all the other receivers he has. Miles Boykin, even though he's 6'4", he's still a burner. Ross is a physical guy, so I guess I understand that. I mean, he is stronger than everybody else on their team playing receiver, so I guess I see why you would want him, but he now has four guys at 24 and under, or five, well, all his receivers are 24 and under. I just I don't think you're going to be able to dev Justin Ross without hurting some of these other guys.
Yeah, I agree.
So, um, yeah, I think that's about like for them, their defense is still really good. They still got top tier corners. They still have, they're a little weak at the very back end, but this is still a really good team.
Right.
So,
How about after we finish each division, let's pick who our division winners are. I'll
for sure.
start. I think the Ravens still win this division. As good as the Bengals and the Steelers off seasons were, uh, uh, to me, the Ravens are still the most complete team in the AFC North. I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight. And outside of Cleveland, I wouldn't be surprised if any of the other three teams won this division. I'm putting my money on Lamar.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Ravens as well. I think that it's going to be very close. I think that it's going to come down to whoever has the better division record, I think is where it ends. And I just want to see who they play. Like, if they play the Bengals or the Steelers, they play the Browns. I think that week 15 matchup against the Bengals could determine who wins the division. But yeah, I have the Ravens winning it right now. They're still, like you said, the most complete team, and I think that Lamar makes them that much better than anyone else in that division.
For sure. Okay, so let's go to the AFC South, and I guess we'll start
Yep.
with the Colts, who uh, I kind of like what the Colts did this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in Drew Lock, who put up stats last year with Denver. I know he finished with 15 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, but a lot of those interceptions came before the sliders. We changed the sliders
Yep.
up. So I'm looking forward to see what he does in Indy. Indianapolis lost Marlon Mack, T.Y. Hilton on the offense, so they'll have to look at replacing that. But Jonathan Taylor's a monster. Um, let's see. Let's see who the
He
Colts drafted.
They brought in
Oh,
Rashad
yeah,
Bateman with their
Bateman.
first pick.
Yeah,
Yep. So they've got a really, really good receiver to add to that Michael Pittman, Paris Campbell trio. I mean, even Zach Pasquale is not terrible as a number 4. So
right.
I agree. I really like what the Colts did.
They
They
brought in
brought
right tackle Samuel Cosme out of Texas. That he's the worst one on that offensive line, but he's a rookie. That offensive line, obviously one of the best in real life football and also in the game. The defense was really good last year and kind of going over their roster this year. They had some guys that regressed. I think he's going to be starting more rookies on the defense this season. Lee drafted Baron Browning, right outside linebacker out of Ohio State. And of course, he also brought in, I thought he was the one that drafted Sean Wade. That's somebody else. I was going to make fun of him for
no.
being a A
A
homer.
homer?
Yeah,
No,
that's coming up.
that was the
Oh,
Giants.
that's right. That's right.
The Giants ended up taking it. I mean, um, yeah, I mean he's got his secondaries okay. If there's one spot where you can say, okay, well this could be a problem. I mean, Kenny Moore is young and he's all right, but he really doesn't have anything behind him that like really scares you. But Rocky Sin was an All Pro corner last year, so
Yep.
um, yeah, this defense is still really really good. I think Lee did a really good job of just shoring up some things because you know, Jacob Eason was okay for him last season, but Drew Lock is gonna be the guy, and I think that Drew Lock with these weapons, he can be really good.
Agreed. Moving on to Blair.
I,
Blair had
I have I have some things to say, but all right,
yeah, Blair
yeah,
had arguably the most interesting offseason in the league. Traded up to the number 4 pick where he picked, uh,
Jamar
yeah,
Chase.
excuse me, Jamar Chase out of LSU, signed Cam Newton in free agency, signed Marlon Mack, drafted Trey Sermon out of Oklahoma to be his backup, Jarrett Patterson as the third running back. Um, boy, I I'm never gonna fault a team for going up and trading up to get their guy, but
But
I I I don't.
I don't think Jamar Chase was his guy.
Yeah, well, if he was drafting up to 4 because he thought one of the QBs were falling, then that's on him. But
Right. I think he adjusted and like he wanted one of the QBs and then traded up, to make the pick and decided that Jamar Chase was the guy with Cam.
yeah,
Um
what's crazy is I love his offseason except for signing Cam. Like I would have just rather
see
had Gardner Minshew because if you have Cam who ran so much in New England, it doesn't make any sense to draft Jamar
uh,
Chase.
right. I also am not a huge fan of giving Anthony Harris a 4-year deal
Yep.
worth um how much is he paying him per season? I think it's something like paying him, it's only 8 mil, but Anthony Harris will regress next season, and he's not. I guess if you think you're going to win this season, it's a smart move, but I
Right.
still don't
But
think that, I still think there are some holes on this team.
yep. And like he had Gerard Wilson. He's younger. He's a 75, so his overall is lower. But he's only paying him 2.2 million. I would have much rather just started him and just tried to
Right.
figure it out. But to see, it's like the rest of his offseason. Like I love the Asante Samuel Jr. draft pick. He was one of the guys I was targeting as well. And it's just like Blair has like he'll do like 2 great moves and then just 2 suspect moves, and you're like, oh, if you just stuck with the 2 great moves, like, because now
I
I
mean,
mean I don't think his team. I don't know. We can talk about it later, but I just don't know what to make of this team. Like
I, I,
you could tell me this team
yeah.
wins the division. You could tell me this team finishes third in the division or last in the division. I'd be like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I don't think they will finish last because of the
No.
Texans, but
Yeah. Yeah, let's just
it,
go ahead and move on to
yeah,
this Texans
let's
who
do it.
had maybe
Just bizarre, bizarre.
may so they brought in Tyrod Taylor and
Yep.
2 other guys who, I mean, I hope he's starting one of these rookies and hoping that they're good enough to win Rookie of the Year, because otherwise I don't understand what you're doing there. Drafted a bad running back. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Uh,
Yeah.
Nico Collins is good. That's a good pick. I get, and a couple other guys who are okay. Like, I guess this all revolves around trading Deshaun Watson
Yeah.
and
And
getting this number 4 projected number 4 pick from Chicago, along with New England's first. Um,
Yeah, to me, in your Houston, you you just hope that 4 pick hits. Like you hope it's
yeah,
anywhere close to 4 because if it's not,
you
I I just don't know. I mean,
it for me. If it's not between 1 and 5, you've lost this trade.
yep. And he also signed
Um,
Sheldon Rankins to a big 1 year deal, I
yeah,
believe. So I don't hate that because he's still young, but you also lose
yeah,
Will Fuller, which I'm okay with. I'm not the biggest Will Fuller fan, so I can understand that. But now your receiving core is Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, Kiki Cutie, and rookie, Nico Collins, who you mentioned before, who's good. I would really, really hope he puts Nico at that number 1 spot and just tries to get as many targets
Devin.
to him as possible.
Yeah, yep,
And
I agree.
his
I
line
mean, but
is okay. And then, he still has JJ. And if JJ's still on this team at the end of the season, I would be surprised. I would expect for him to be gone.
yeah, JJ's got to go. If this is a full teardown and you're just starting over, JJ's got to go. Bernardrick McKinney's got to go.
Justin Reed's got to
Uh,
go.
yeah, Justin Reed's got to go because maybe not Justin Reed just because of the age.
Maybe so,
He's still
but
young and
yeah, you could argue
he's
outside
still
of
young
JJ, like Reed's probably his best trade asset. So if the goal is to
for
get as
sure.
many picks as possible, then Reed probably has to be included in any deal. But
Right, I think you could probably get a pretty decent uh, trade value for Brandon Cooks just because he's gotten he's an 87 and he's still fast.
yeah, that's
Um,
true. 94
and he
speed.
signed for 3 more years. So,
Yeah,
um,
you're right.
but no, Justin Reed is probably the best asset. I just would have a hard time giving up on a 24-year-old. Like, but you're right. He is the other guy who would probably have to go. Um,
And then
uh,
let's move on to the Titans, who had the most normal offseason out of all the AFC South teams. Once
I brought
again,
in
they
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, brought in Matt Stafford. Once again, I really liked what Nathan did. He didn't make any flashy moves, but, bringing in Matt Stafford, drafting right guard Nolan Laufenberg, just really solid moves. I mean, his team's still really solid. Derrick Henry's only 27. AJ Brown is a good young receiver. He drafted Dez Fitzpatrick out of Louisville, 6'2", 210. He could be something, I guess, if you want to play him for like Adam Humphries or something like that.
Yeah, he just had kind of nothing flashy. He just had a really, he's got a couple guys who he drafted. Aubrey Thomas out of Michigan. Cameron McGrone out of Michigan. He apparently really likes Michigan guys, even though he's an LSU fan. He brought in guys who can help but aren't great. I would say, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I would agree. And his defense is good. A lot of defensive his good defensive players are young outside of Von Miller. Christian Fulton's only 22 and Dory Jackson's still only 25 somehow. Kevin Byard's only 28. So
Right.
I'll go ahead and say this. This is my pick to win the division just because I feel like they have the least amount of question marks. With every other team, it's the Colts. I like Drew Lock, but was that second half surge real, or
Right.
was it just the sliders? With the Jags, I have no clue what to do with them, and I think the Texans are going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I will say, if that Bears pick and the Texans pick are both in the top 10, then I get why you do the trade.
For sure.
Who do you think for the AFC South? Who you
I
thinking?
have the Colts. I
Okay.
think the Colts win this division. I think it's close. I also think the Titans are just on the edge of the playoffs. I think they finish right outside of a wild card spot. I think the Colts. I believe that Drew Lock's second half surge is real, and I believe that Lee has one of the top 3 or 4 defenses, and I think that carries him.
That's fair. Okay, let's move on to the AFC East, where we will start in Buffalo. Um, another, you know, didn't really do a whole lot this offseason. Um, has Josh Allen, drafted De'Aaron King to be his backup. Is he's trying to get rid of Singletary, which I guess, he drafted Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. So I'm going to try to dev him, I'm assuming. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised he hasn't been a little more win now, because I feel like this roster is built more to win in the short term than in the long term, because especially on defense, he has a lot of older pieces. He also traded away Kevin Knox to Green Bay for a bag of chips.
Yeah. I want to talk about his first round pick, Kyle Pitts.
Go for it.
I was surprised to see him take a tight end.
Me too.
But it's a really good tight end to have.
Yeah.
At 21 years old, but if he is going to start De'Aaron King, then it makes sense because scramblers love their tight ends.
Is that true? I didn't want to because when I was doing my research earlier, we were still on practice,
right?
And so I was looking at the depth charts, and I had De'Aaron King as starting. I was like, surely that's just preseason. I was like, he's not actually going to start.
No,
King,
I think he was playing. I think that was the plan all along, was to start King.
Okay.
But so I think that if he was always planning on taking King at some point, then drafting Pitts this early makes sense because scramblers throw to their tight ends a lot.
Yeah. Downside, De'Aaron King is 23 years old, which is old for a rookie. Josh Allen, in comparison, is 24. Right. But King does have 93 speed, which is just ridiculous for a QB. So if he does start him, then the tight end pick, you're right, does make sense. And King is going to have a lot of weapons to throw to. Diggs is good. John Brown is pretty good. Beasley's pretty good. He didn't draft any rookie receivers anyway. He drafted more defense than anything.
He picked
position anyway.
Yeah, he picked a rookie, Bobby Brown the third. Also, TJ Carter out of Memphis. So the Bills are another team where I could see them being towards the top of the division. I could also see battling for the last place in division.
Right.
It just depends on.
If De'Aaron King starts out 0-4 and doesn't look very good, I would be really curious if he goes back to Josh Allen.
Right.
Or if he just tries to find a playbook that suits De'Aaron King more.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what he does with this team going forward, but it's one of the most interesting teams to watch.
You know what? We'll move on to your.
I didn't hear. We'll move on to the Dolphins. Okay, we can go to the Dolphins. Drafted 2 quarterbacks. They're both whatever. I just needed a backup. Najee Harris fell to me. I also took another backup running back in Kylan Hill to just kind of for depth. And then I took every wide receiver that was available at the time. I can't hear you, Sam. If you're talking.
I'm not talking. I was letting you roll.
Okay. Oh, you can go with it, man. You can say because I feel it's interesting to see from the other side what people thought, because I know a lot of people were making fun of me for taking all these receivers, but
I loved it, honestly. You didn't, in terms of receiver, that's kind of where you were hurting last year, and to Dev Tua, you're really going to need some playmakers. I love Rondo Moore out of Purdue. I think Chris Olave is going to be good. Grant is whatever. to me, I look at it like this. You're going to hit on one of these receivers. So,
Right.
in a worst case scenario, if Olave is, pans out to be like your number 3 guy or whatever, then that's fine. Like that's not a
Right.
huge deal. Um, let's see. You also took 2 running backs, which was smart for depth, like you said earlier. Wyatt Davis was a good pick. You got Quincy Roche as well on the defense. You also took uh, Auburn CB Roger McCreary, which I loved. You know that. Um, so I think your team is going to take a good step. I think. Oh boy, hold on. Hey, hey, shut up. I think the
I
biggest
also
thing.
took
Yeah, good.
I also took Caleb Farley, another corner out of Tech. Like you said, Quincy Roach. There was, and then the guy who he felt Drake Jackson. He's got dev. It's only star dev, but for a rookie center, I thought that was pretty
Yeah.
huge
Oh,
to
absolutely. Yeah,
get that.
for sure.
Yeah, no, this team is gonna it's gonna take a step forward because it can't be much worse than it was last season.
Right. And the most unfortunate thing for you is you're in a division with 3, I would say 2 pretty good teams and 1 really good team. So
Yeah,
those games, those what, 6? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, those 6
yeah,
divisional
6.
games, like those are just going to be dogfights. And maybe it's not this year, but I think next year is when your team's going to start to take a step forward.
Yep. So let's go to one of those pretty good teams before we hit the really good team. The Jets. I liked what Poe did this offseason. I'm not going to lie, bringing in Dak and Andy Dalton and getting rid of Breeze, who didn't pan out for Poe at all.
No. Also brought in Aaron Jones and Telvin Coleman. I
Yep.
thought was huge. Now that offense looks pretty much completely different. You know,
Yep.
as Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Dede Westbrook at wide receiver. That's big. Also has Reggie Roberson out of SMU as a rookie,
Yeah.
at 70 overall. So still has some good young talent. Brought in Everett, of course, last season. Offensive line
Yep.
is where you're concerned if you're a Jets fan. They're young. Um, yeah, brought in Orlando Brown.
Which is huge. I think
Yeah,
that's a really smart move.
yeah. The defense
Yeah.
is okay. Like you have Clowney, of course. You have Van Way. Um, the secondary is blah. Brian Poole, whatever. Pierre Desir was I think made one of the All Pro teams last
He
season.
did. He made
So
second team somehow.
yeah. So
Like,
yeah, his team is pretty good. Poe had a good offseason. I'll be really interested to see just how much of an upgrade Dak is from Drew Brees because I mean that's what it's all about, right? I mean,
yep.
his team played well last season. It's just Brees kind of choked in the playoffs. So
Yep.
if he also and Le'Veon Bell is gone as well. I should mention that.
Well, I was saving that for the next
Oh,
team.
there you go. All right.
But I think Pode, he's gonna compete for a wild card spot. It's gonna come down to I think him, Titans, Steelers, and Bengals.
Yep.
Maybe Chiefs and Chargers are in that mix too, depending on which one doesn't win the division. But we can move on to the evil empire, to
Yep.
Cody.
Well, folks, he did it again.
Uh,
Second,
yeah,
second Madden in a row.
I told you guys not to do it. I
Yep.
warned you. I said don't do it. I said don't trade with him. And then what's everybody do? They're like, haha, fuck Kyle. Let's make him even better.
You know what we should do? We should
Uh,
trade him one of the best young QBs in the game. Coming from somebody who traded him one of the best young QBs in the game last year.
Yeah, so he got Deshaun. He added to his already ridiculous stable of running backs by bringing in Le'Veon Bell.
Yep.
Mm.
And I mean, Bell, Wyrick, Michelle, Geis. How many also drafted? Drafted Hawkins out of Louisville. Like
Javian Hawkins,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
would be
Javion, Javion, I
Javian.
don't know. So,
Yeah,
how many of the four big ones, how many do you think are on his roster at the end of the season?
all four.
You think all four? I think one's going to be
Uh,
gone, and I think Michelle is the odd man out
maybe
here.
maybe Michelle.
If I
The
had to
only thing is
bet,
Be- Bell's only signed for 1 year.
right, so he has to
But
stay.
yeah,
And
yeah.
guys
If I was gonna trade,
he signed for too long.
he signed for too long and for too much money,
Yep.
and it's all guaranteed. So if he tries to trade guys, he's eating 20 mil, which I know Cody doesn't want to do.
No. And
Uh,
Cody brought in Will Fuller, Sammy Watkins, and Jamison Crowder in the offseason. Nothing really, flashy, just, three solid receivers. Yeah, I would definitely say it's an upgrade. Marvin Jones regressed, but was still a stud for Cody last year. He has, Devin, I can't ever pronounce his last name. Yeah.
ACSC.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got, and then he did Cody things. He made moves that were, you know, his right guard is bad, but like realistically doesn't matter to Cody if one of his offensive linemen is bad. No.
Yeah. He drafted Jalen Twyman and also the real Xavier Thomas. So he's got some good defensive line depth there to go along with all the other guys he has. Still has Hightower, who's old. Bentley's only 25. Also signed to Mario Davis, which was smart.
Yeah.
He played really well. And what matters is, he has Gilmore and Jones and then signed Roby Coleman.
Yep.
So he he does have the best secondary in the league.
No, he doesn't. Don't give him that.
He does.
I don't think. Arizona is better. I think Arizona is. I think it's close. I think it's close. There were 3 Arizonas on the first team. There were only 2 Patriots. So, but yeah, it's close. We can argue,
close.
But
we can agree that it's close.
Cody's winning this division.
Yep. Agreed.
Sorry, Pode.
I think if somebody's going to challenge him, it's going to be Pode.
Yeah, Pode's the only one in a position right now to challenge him.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, on to the AFC West, where we will start with the Broncos, who lost Drew Lock and Phillip Lindsay in the offseason was kind of the major highlights that I found. The big news, obviously, drafting Justin Fields at number 2 overall. This is Fields' franchise now. It's going to be really interesting to see how he does in year 1 because I think this team is actually better than what the record was last year.
I agree.
They have some really solid pieces in Sutton, Judy, and KJ Hamler. Melvin Gordon is not a bad running back to have, although he also drafted Master T from Ohio State. Great name, by the way.
I think Teague starts for him.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I think this is Teague and Fields, and I think and then the 3 wide receivers. I think Fields is going to play really well. I think I picked him to win quarterback on the all-rookie team. Just because of the rushing, I think it's going to put him over the top.
Yep. I would agree. Also, I think I think out of all the rookie quarterbacks outside of maybe Brock Purdy in San Francisco, I think he probably has the best weapons.
I think so, yeah.
And this Denver defense is they're old. They're not great outside of Bradley Chubb. Is their real only real young star.
Yeah.
And then I guess Dante Ness, his legacy player is pretty good, 2276 overall, and Justin Simmons. But
yeah, everyone
else is old. I think I don't know. I see him kind of. He does have 2 firsts this year as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to move off some of these older pieces. Maybe even moving off of a guy like Melvin Gordon to a playoff team who needs a running back for something. Because
For sure.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he'll pick number 2 again this season. But I would be really surprised if he made a playoff run.
Yeah, I don't think they make the playoffs. I think they finish in 5-11, 6-10, somewhere in there.
That seems about right, and that's a lot better than last year. And if if Fields does well, that's really all that matters.
For sure. So the Chargers with Justin Herbert leading the way. I don't let me. You can go ahead and say who they lost. I don't have it pulled
Sure.
up.
So Tyrod's the only one that in this offseason. He signed Todd Gurley. Also, I believe traded for Derek Barnett.
Yep.
Drafted this one. Confused is probably the wrong word for this, but he drafted Dylan Moses when he already had Kenneth Murray Jr. So I'm assuming he plays a 3-4 and is just going to play both of them or move one of them outside. I would have to assume, but
yeah,
now I really like I like the pairing of Murray and Moses. I mean, that's now, along with Nwosu, a really good young linebacking core in the AFC.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who else does he have? The offense is blah. I mean, Herbert is whatever. I like Gurley and Eckler together. Eckler had a good season.
Yeah, I also like his secondary. Like Desmond King, Sidney Jones, and Jarek Tyson is a pretty good trio to have there.
Were you asking about Gurley's contract?
No.
Okay.
It was a little odd to see him bring Gurley in with Eckler, but I like it. I don't think it's a terrible tandem because if Atlanta showed us anything, is that Gurley can get 1,000-yard rushing and then have a running back catch 100 passes still. So
right, yeah, absolutely. And his receiving core is young. Tyler Boyd and Mike Williams are two pretty good. I wouldn't call either of them number ones, but they're both pretty good. JJ Arkia Whiteside is okay. And then, I want to say I thought he drafted Pat Murray, who's a 2168 overall. He's whatever, 5'9", 198.
Yeah, it's not. He had a good offseason. He did end up, because of the wheel, having to pay Derwin James a year early.
Yeah,
give him $65 million.
Yeah, that sucks. But I think he was talking. It might also be a discount depending on what he was actually going to ask for. But
it could have been. But there were only a few safeties who were making more than like $10 million a season.
True. Yeah,
so
I think this team's ceiling is like borderline playoff team. I just think they're fine. Like I think they're a couple pieces away on the offense. This offensive line was arguably the worst in football, them in Cincinnati. So until that shores up, I'm going to be really skeptical.
For sure. So we can move on to the division winner and AFC runner-up last season. The Chiefs. It's all about Pat Mahomes.
Yep. They signed. They brought in Jared, he had Jared Goff as the backup last week. I don't know if he cut him, but he's not showing up. Okay, well, he did have Jared Goff for a period of time. I guess the preseason.
Yeah, he decided against it, which is a smart move.
Yeah, for sure.
So he drafted Cole Van Lanen out of Wisconsin, which is a good pick because Wisconsin offensive linemen are usually pretty good. Yep. He also drafted Trey Smith. So he did and another one in Luke Godecki out of. So he basically remade his entire offensive line in this draft.
Yeah, which is smart. I feel like, in terms of deving people, like, unless like, obviously, like, Hardman is a candidate along with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but with Mahomes already, at a 99, he doesn't really have to worry about him, so he can definitely spend that offensive weekly dev on. I would assume he would do running
offense.
back, offensive line.
I would hope, yeah,
Yeah. Travis Kelsey's back. Hopefully, he doesn't drop 100 balls this season.
for sure.
The
Yeah,
yeah the
no, this
def-
is still the best team in the AFC West.
Yep, for sure. The defense is fine. Like Frank Clark, you would like for him to be a little better, making as much money as he is. He's only an 84 overall, but you do have Chris Jones as well.
And
So
and even Derek Notty's not a bad piece in the middle.
no, definitely not. You know the fall of this team last year was that defense. They gave up just a billion passing yards, and that unit didn't really get a lot better.
No,
Uh,
it stayed mostly the same.
yeah,
Hopefully he can get them to upgrade throughout the season, but this defense still doesn't match up well with Cody and
no, it
his
does not.
downhill hit because these linebackers are just not good enough to handle a four-headed monster at running back. So,
Nope.
um,
We'll move
yeah,
on to the last team, the Raiders, who,
we saved the worst for the last in the AFC.
yeah, still starting Derek Carr. Sure, I guess. Poor Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is a 90 now, and is just gonna waste away in Oakland. Uh,
Didn't bring in any receivers.
no, didn't bring in any receivers. Didn't really lose anybody from what I saw. Ruggs is
Superstar
still
Dev.
there. Yeah, superstar Dev. That's probably the best part of last season, along with Dev getting Josh Jacobs up there. Waller's still
Uh,
solid. He also drafted Brevin Jordan from Miami, who is good. I mean, 21, 73 overall, hidden Dev. I can't remember what his Dev is, but I'd probably star if I had to guess.
yeah, yeah,
Offensive
star.
line is okay. I mean, is okay. The right side is a lot better. Um, Obviously, the big prize for him is Rauso out of Miami, the left end.
Yeah,
Who I bet he's starting. Well, right now he's like
at right.
fourth on the depth chart from what I'm seeing, but I'm sure he'll start him
I
over Klein Farrell.
yeah, I hope.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Brock Holland is his legendary player. His legacy player is okay. Hasn't really been dev that well. And then his secondary is, well, his best player is Lamarcus Joyner, who's 30 and a 79. So he's okay, I guess. Trayvon
it's
Mullen
bad.
is whatever. It's
I know
not
you're trying.
great.
I know you're trying to be nice. I'm not. This is the worst team in the league, and the fact that they didn't have the number one pick is ridiculous. This is the worst team. It's just bad. It's bad. It's not like
Yeah,
and
it's bad.
Noel Soda didn't do anything to make it better this offseason. It's just bad, and
It's bad, and he should feel bad.
yeah, it's just. I mean, he'll probably have a top 5 pick, and
That
yeah, that's all.
probably.
That's all I have to say. Pick the
So
winner. It's going to be the Chiefs are going to win the division. I don't.
yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
frustrated by how bad this team is.
yeah. Let's pick the Chiefs and move on.
Yeah. Going to the AFC North, right? We'll
NFC
start with the
North.
Bears. Or yeah,
Yeah,
NFC North.
yeah.
They brought in Gardner Minshew. It's
Cool.
something.
Yeah,
I know.
it is a move that happened. I mean, I like Minshew last year. He was a guy that struggled with the sliders beforehand, but got better as the year went on. And for the Bears, I I like that they traded down. You know, especially if you're trading with a team like Jacksonville, where you have no idea where their pick is going to be. He
Right.
drafted Zamir White out of Georgia, who
Not a bad pick, but
no, not bad at all. I would expect him
but
to
he just
start.
but it's just another guy in the middle of that running back group that's just kind of there.
Yeah, his receiving group is kind of like that as well.
Yeah.
Anthony Miller, blah. Riley Ridley, blah. Javon Wims, okay. Drafted
But
Elijah
in
Moore
this
out of Ole Miss. He's
but
whatever.
in this draft, this was a draft where you could have made it so you never have to worry about receiver again.
Yep.
And he just didn't. It's another
No, he didn't. He did draft the strong safety Hamsha. I'm not going to pronounce his last name correctly, so I'm not even going to try. So like that's a good pick.
Yeah, that's a
him.
good. I'm not mad at what he did. I
No,
just there were so many picks that he had, and I guess he traded a bunch of them away for J.C. Jackson. So this team is, if it's gonna win, it's gonna be on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah, I think this team is going to be in the same position it was last year. Well, I guess technically the Lions were the worst team. I don't know, man. I might even pick the Lions over this team.
I think this team is better than the Lions,
I
but
don't.
I don't think it. I think it's close. I think it's close.
Gosh, I guess, but I think at least Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to put up points. Like I don't know what this
Gardner put up
offense is
points.
supposed to do.
That's the one thing that bothers me is that this offense is bad, but I think this defense is head and shoulders above the Lions defense.
Yeah, I'll
that,
agree
that
with you
that's
there. The defense is no comparison for sure.
yeah. So let's just go to the Lions. They drafted Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall, despite all of Sam's trying to get up to number 1.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about freaking Vince.
Um, they still got Carry On and DeAndre, so they've still got a decent tandem at running back. He brought in Jalen Waddle and Tutu Atwell and Amon-Ra St. Brown, so he really rebuilt this receiving room.
Yep.
Like you said, it's better than it was, and it's much better than the Bears.
He's got
he did a good
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's now got 5 receivers with 90 plus speed,
for sure.
which
He's
is
got
awesome.
he's still got Hawk at a tight end. His offensive line is okay.
Yeah, it's okay, not great. Yeah, Vernon
Nick
brought in on the defense. Danny Shelton is whatever. Jamie Collins is now old, and
Bears just beat the Ravens.
Oh wow!
Oh, just sent me a message on Xbox. So I guess I retract everything I just said about the Bears. Best team in the league. Don't listen to me. I'm
Jesus,
Madden.
Oh, what are you doing?
Yeah. So
that's bad.
Why you gotta ruin me like that?
Bears.
He's got Deshaun. He's got Deshaun Hand and Olivier Vernon. That's okay at the end position. Danny Shelton's, a big mound of a guy. He didn't do anything to address this linebacker group, so it's still really bad.
He really shored up the offense with this draft, and I can't really say that I blame him.
No, and I mean it was the smart move.
Yeah,
this offense could put up 35 points a game, but this defense might give up 42.
Right. Exactly.
Jeff Okuda's an 82. That's good. A few more points and he gets that second ability, and he'll have a really good trio at corner. But yeah, I still think this is the worst team in the AFC North, maybe, or NFC North, except for maybe one later, because I don't know what the Vikings did this offseason, but
Minshew threw for 320. Holy cow!
I told you he could put up numbers. I said it. I was
know.
like, he put up, but he might throw 4 interceptions next week.
True. Uh,
Um,
Before we get to the Vikings, let's go to the
what
defending champs.
Packers?
Yeah, excuse me. Let's get
Yeah,
to the defending champ Packers. Will,
Packers.
uh,
Yeah, we're
yeah,
not we're not gonna we're not gonna leave you hanging, Will.
yeah,
Jordan Love, he got Dragon camped and Star Dev today. He's a 77 now, so he's a decent enough quarterback.
for sure. Rogers gone, Aaron Jones gone, Robert Woods gone. Brought in Dawson Knox at the tight end position. Um, you know, I I don't know. To me, if he
Also
was
brought in Dante Pettis, so
that's
I mean
yeah,
that's not a
right.
bad move.
I
I mean this team, I think it comes down to what AJ Dillon does in the red zone.
yeah.
If AJ Dillon can put up another season like he had last year, this team can still be really good because I don't trust Jordan Love in the red zone.
Yeah, I'm not sure I trust Jordan Love, period. If it was me, if you wanted to play Love this whole time, I would have traded Rodgers last year from pretty much from day
I,
one of the league and start Love then, or try to trade Love in the
right.
offseason. Um,
Um, I mean, he picked Chaz Surratt at linebacker. That's a pretty good pick,
yeah, that's a good pick for
Gets
sure.
him gets him a lot better at middle linebacker. He's still Rashawn Gary was one of the best players last season, along with Zadarius Smith. I mean, he still has a really good defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this defense more than ever is going to carry his team.
Hmm.
I think the offense more than likely takes a step back from where it was last year, but I mean it was a top five unit. So if it even drops from like top five to middle of the pack, and you still have a really good defense, that at least gets you in the playoffs, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, we'll be in the playoffs, I think. But yeah, let's just Vikings. They were a playoff team last year, and they beat. Who did they beat in the first round? They won their first round game, and I can't remember
I
against
think they
who.
beat the Seahawks,
No, the Falcons beat
right?
the Seahawks.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Maybe they lost to the Cardinals. No, the Cardinals played the Bucks. Who was the other playoff team?
I had no clue.
I can't think of it right now. If anybody can think of it, put it in the chat, and I'll. This team is all Dalvin Cook. I think. He's still got Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, two pretty good receivers, but he still has Kirk Cousins throwing to him. Not that he was in a position to draft anybody else.
Yeah, he really wasn't. Thielen is, like you said, Thielen's old. Justin Jefferson's an 82.
Okay, hold on. Love beat the Cardinals 22-16, no wins, 1 TD. AJ Dillon had 37 attempts and 197 yards. So it's gonna be the AJ Dillon show.
Yep. That. Oh boy. That's
Yeah.
that's nasty. Yeah.
Um.
Back to the Vikings. This defense is what helped them out last year, and he beat
Yeah.
up that defense by drafting Darius Stills out of West Virginia. He's a good D tackle.
Yeah, you jerk! I was about to take him, and you took him.
Anthony Barr is still getting overpaid. He has Eric Kendricks at middle
He drafted
linebacker.
Kari Vincent Jr. out of LSU, who's normal dev, but a 72. So,
Yep.
but it goes in. He fits in with the rest of those DBs who are just kind of there.
Yeah. He
He's
also
still
has
got.
Caden Stearns at free safety.
Yeah, also another person you took right over me. Now I'm mad again. I'm mad for different reasons. Harrison Smith. I mean, maybe this team's not as bad, but this team only goes as far as Kirk Cousins. We'll take it.
Which is very far. I mean,
Yeah,
like
it's
and
maybe
you
a
regressed
playoff
last
win.
year, too. Yeah, I mean, you might make the playoffs. You probably will make the playoffs because I think
Just because there's 7 teams and
yeah, I think this year the AFC is a little more competitive than the NFC, so I feel like getting that wild card spot is going to be a little easier. But I have the Packers winning this division. I don't really think it's
I do as
necessarily
well.
close.
Yeah, I think the Packers win, and I agree. It's not close. We can go ahead and move on to the South, and we'll start with the Bucks.
Yep.
New
Uh,
user Larry. Welcome to the
Larry.
league, Larry.
Yep. Congratulations, you
Tom
get
Brady.
44-year-old Tom Brady.
Yep,
Uh,
and Ben
uh,
Kurt is your backup.
yep. You
He
know,
signed Gus Edwards.
yeah. Ronald Jones had a really nice year last year. Um,
Yeah, Twinkie did a really good job at getting Ronald Jones. He had 1,200 yards, almost 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns.
on less
Surprised he didn't
than
get.
on less than 4 yards a carry,
Yeah, okay, well,
which is
that would be why.
crazy.
Still has the two really good receivers and then not a lot behind them.
Yep.
Gronk, he drafted Jake Ferguson from Wisconsin. I don't know who that is, so he took Alex Leatherwood. Um,
Yeah, which he took him right before me. Um, that was disappointing. I
um,
was not. I wasn't very happy. He took Jalen
Jack
Mayfield.
Jack Anderson, he drafted. He's got. It's not a bad team, and it definitely,
No.
and we'll see here. It still can. I think they still can compete for the division, just because I don't. Kevin did a lot, but it's still a rough division. But
Yeah,
this is a
absolutely.
team that could still compete here. Yeah, Larry hasn't gotten a chance to do a lot of things yet. We'll see what he does going forward, because this is still basically Twinkie's base roster that he made a couple moves.
Right.
I think they have the Chargers first rounder this year and the Pittsburgh fourth rounder
Okay. So I
and
mean
a Pittsburgh.
that Chargers pick could end up being pretty good if they miss
Yeah,
the playoffs. It could be like top 17-ish, and that's not
yeah.
nothing.
So no, so we'll move on to the Falcons.
Yep.
Matt Ryan's still here. He
Yes.
got X Factor.
Yep. Lit up the league last season. Had the most passing yards in the league. He also signed Teddy Bridgewater as insurance, which for 1.12 million is is smart. I mean, you do that. He lost Gurley, who was a 1,200-yard rusher last season, but Ito Smith had a ton of catches last year, and he also
And I hope he
drafted Puka Williams
Puka.
Jr. out of Kansas. So
Yeah,
I'm so that I think he's going to be just fine there. And of course, he has his own two-headed monster at receiver with Julio and Calvin Ridley.
yeah. Um, he drafted Pat Freiermuth
Yep,
out of Penn
great.
State.
See,
Is a really good
great
pick.
pick.
Um, his
His
offensive
offensive
line
line is
isn't.
whatever.
Yeah, it's not very good, but as long as you can give Ryan enough time to find somebody downfield, you're fine. He
Yeah,
took two middle linebackers who are both whatever. Uh, Chris Rumpf the second out of Duke could end up being a really good pickup for him. 74 overall rookie. 22. I don't know if he has Dev. He doesn't have Dev, but linebackers are kind of the easiest thing to get Dev for.
right. Yeah, and
Uh,
I think his defense took a little bit of a step back. Um, he's going to be starting Reed Blankenship, a
yeah.
rookie 69 overall free safety. I don't think his defensive line is better than last year, but
No.
I mean, with his offense, it was really about his offense last year. I would not be surprised to see this team win the division again. I'm also curious to see how much Matt Ryan regresses.
Yeah, for
Because I mean,
sure.
would I bet on him to lead the league in passing 2 years in a row? I mean, probably not. If I'm being honest, that's something that would be really surprising to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes from first to like seventh, and his
Yeah.
team still be
So
really good.
for sure. Um, we'll go to the Panthers next with
Boy,
there's so much stuff that Kevin did. Kevin did a lot of work this offseason.
yeah, he's
Signed
put
or
in those
traded for
hours.
Baker. Traded for Baker. Uh,
Traded for Michael Thomas,
yeah, Michael Thomas.
Eric McCoy. Quincy Gardner-Johnson, signed Earl Thomas, traded for C.J. Mosley. I think
Draft.
signed Avery Williamson, or I
Yeah.
don't think he traded for him. I could be wrong there.
No. No, he signed him. Drafted Jackson Carmine, left tackle out of Clemson. Um, he made a lot of really good moves here. This is the NFC South is going to be a dogfight all season, except for the team that we'll finish with, I think. But
Yep, for sure.
um,
No arguments here.
um, um, it's just Kevin put in work, and he still has. Well, he has no picks this season. Never mind, that's 2023. So he better win, or else this team's not going to get that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I this team has this team should have Super Bowl or bust aspirations, in my opinion. Baker really turned it around at the end of last
After
season.
the sliders, yeah.
Yeah. McCaffrey didn't get a ton of touches, but that's, partially because of his playbook, which I'm sure he'll be changing. So I'm expecting to bounce back. Michael Thomas, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel is a really, 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 really good trio, if not the best in the league. Higbee was
Probably
good.
the best in the league.
Probably the best. His offensive line is okay. I mean, it's good.
It's good enough.
Yeah. Brian Burns is awesome. Gross Meadows is a stud. Derek Brown can stay healthy. He'll take a next step forward. The linebacking core is ridiculous. And then,
yeah,
his DBs, Dante Jackson and Jeremy Chin, who, I think Chin got like dragon or something, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And then Gardner Johnson and Earl Thomas. It's just a solid group.
Although this brings into question, why trade for Ronnie Harrison if you're just going to sign Earl Thomas?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I know he probably didn't think Earl Thomas was going to become available, but
right, that's my thing. I think that's what he thinks, is that he didn't think Earl Thomas was going to be there. So I get it. And when, if you're trying to win a Super Bowl next season, like, you go out and you sign Earl Thomas I'm assuming is for a year. I'll take a look real quick.
No, I think it's 2 at least. I think it's 2 years, like.
Yeah, it's 2.
20.
Yeah,
20 something mil.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I mean,
no, I'm not hating on it, Kevin. No. It's not a bad move.
No, it's not.
Let's just go ahead and get to the Saints so I can trash them.
Yeah, we'll get my team out of the way with.
You drafted Trey Lance, number 3.
Yep.
Should have taken Jamar Chase. Get out of here. What's wrong with? No, I'm just kidding.
Good
pick,
see.
Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
Great pick. You got him middle. You got him 14, I think.
Yeah. It was my 3rd pick, so I believe it was 13 or 14, one of the two.
Yeah. Drafted Anthony Swartz, 97 speed.
Yep.
Seth Williams. You got both the Auburn guys here, and then you added Tamarion Terry. Good moves.
I got Robbie Anderson back in part of the Michael Thomas deal.
Right, Robbie Anderson.
Charlie Kolar, because I was originally going to draft one of the 2 really good tight ends, and I believe they were both gone when I wanted to pick them. So yeah. My offensive line is bad.
Alaric Jackson could end up being pretty good, but
yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, it's
not great.
Rashawn Slater. You've got a lot of young guys. That's
Yeah.
Ronnie Perkins. Kevin's sending me a message now. Harrison is the nickel. Okay, I still don't think that you still traded for him, and I hate it. So,
whatever, Kevin.
David Bowen got superstar last year and Dragon this year. So,
yep.
Marvin Wilson is a stud.
Yeah, the defensive line is young. I'm really excited about. Linebackers are bad. Zach
you do
Bond,
have one rookie.
Yeah.
You do have one rookie, so I mean that's there. Bond's young, so that's not terrible.
Yeah.
Your secondary, you got Patrick Surtain. That's a great pick.
He's about
and then
it.
Yeah, that's
I mean, Al Blades Jr. is a rookie. Yeah, I moved him to the number 2. DiCaprio Boodle is also a rookie. Moved him and Trey Dean. So I
yeah,
think it's 4 out of the 5 corners I have are rookies. So
yeah.
and then
Cisco is a rookie. Is
yeah,
he could be pretty good. Jacoby Stevens isn't a bad player. So I
no,
mean, you're going to be bad this season, but I think that was the plan all along.
yep, it is. And as of right now, I have 4 firsts in this upcoming draft, 2 seconds, and 4 thirds. So
Right,
I have a good
right.
amount of
So
stuff down the road. So my goal for this draft was to honestly just take the best player available. I couldn't really afford to draft for need when your need is everything, So
right,
my big goal
right.
for this season is to just, dev Trey Lance as much as possible and try to get either Schwartz or Williams up to star dev or better. We'll see.
For sure. So I'm gonna take the Panthers to win this division. I think it's gonna be close.
I've gone back and forth. For me, it's between the Panthers and the Falcons. I'm gonna end up taking the Panthers just because I think the defense is a little better. So, congrats, Kevin.
Yeah. So then we'll move to the NFC East, and we'll start in
Also,
Dallas.
before you start, this division was gross last year. It got even more gross this offseason. This division is awful.
Yeah. So we got the Cowboys. They brought in Sam Darnold, lost
Lost Dak.
Dak.
Yep.
They still have a Zeke. They still have the three-headed monster at receiver with Amari, Gallup, and Lamb. Jarwin at tight end. Teron Armstead, Tyrone Smith, Connor Williams, Lyle Collins, Zach Martin, and I assume Teron's starting at right tackle.
Yeah, he was last season. I'm assuming that's the case again.
Jordan and Lawrence, still really good. Neville Gallimore had a great season last year.
Yes, he did.
Amari Gaynor is 20 years old and a rookie, so he's only a 65, but he's only 20 years old. So, Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith are really good. Smith was one of the best linebackers in the league last season.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, this is just this is a really okay team.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any other way. They're not great. They're not good.
It's easy to say. I don't know. If it was me, I don't know. I don't love Darnold. I get it. I also didn't love Dak last year either. But
right.
And unfortunately, for the new Cowboys user, your roster's kind of made to win now. But
with a quarterback who isn't.
The quarterback is, yeah, exactly. So it's easy to sit here and say, wow, imagine if they had just traded for, imagine if Deshaun Watson was on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have the picks to make that trade, right. But I get it.
Yeah.
Eagles,
imagine if, this is a team that, would you rather
Stafford?
Yeah, bingo, Stafford. Would you rather trade for Sam Darnold, or would you rather just had Matt Stafford? And I would have rather had Stafford.
So the Eagles have Carson Wentz, Miles Sanders, and they drafted Trey Ragas out of Lafayette. He brought in Kadarius Toney from somewhere. I don't know where he played college football because it's not on here. So is Ertz and Goddard, but this offensive line, which many considered the best, is outside. This right side's great. This left side is just terrible.
Yeah. I know you said you think the Raiders are going to be the worst team. I kind of think it's going to be the Eagles.
I don't think. I just don't. I think there's too much talent, top end talent, for the Eagles to be. Because I mean, they still. I mean, look at the secondary is still Darius Slay, Casey Hayward, and Avonte Maddox at all above 80s. Like,
Right.
there's
But
just there. Javon Holland is a great pick.
yep.
Um,
I
like
think Wentz is really holding this team back. Like,
Fletcher Cox, yeah. Like I think that, but I would. Would you rather have Wentz or would you rather have Derek Carr? Like,
yeah, I'd
I'd
probably
rather
rather
have
have Wentz.
like at this point, like the receivers are bad. Jalen Rager is okay. Quez Watkins is bad. Like this is probably the worst receiving group that you could possibly have. But then you have Zach Ertz still. So
Yeah,
like I agree. It's a bad team, but I think that they could win the division. That's how bad the NFC
yeah,
East could be. Um,
yeah. This is the Cowboys division to lose, but I could definitely see
uh,
them losing it.
all right, let's go to the Giants because I'm
Oh,
depressed
man.
talking about Ryan's Eagles. They
You're
drafted.
depressed. This team makes me depressed.
Well, I haven't looked at this team yet, but Ricky Giles as the quarterback. I guess he's starting. I don't. They still have Saquon, but they had to pay Saquon $75 million,
Yeah,
which would be fine if they were any good.
yeah.
Uh,
Receiving core is Shepard, Golden Tate, who's old, Darius Slayton, who is good, uh, uh, and he drafted rookie Damon Hazleton Jr. out of Mizzou, 6'2", 215. I don't know, good size, could be good. Evan Ingram is good. The offensive line is not great.
it's. I mean, like it's okay. Like Andrew Thomas is okay. Will Hernandez is good. Alex Lindstrom is bad. Kevin Zeitler is good but old, and then Matthew Pert is bad. Like
Yeah,
that's
the
bad. Like it's just bad.
to me the
Ugh.
defense is where I have a lot of concerns. Here's where Sean Wade went. This is where insert my Ohio State homer joke here. Um, I, Wade. I mean, I get it. Wade's really good, but if you're the Giants, like
There were other
it
things that you could have taken there.
yeah, this is where I had Purdy going. I'm really surprised Purdy didn't go here. A team like you're starting Ricky Giles, like,
I know.
but just take Purdy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. It is what it is. This is a bad team.
Yes.
Um. Here's a team that's not bad. I guess they're not terrible.
They
They're
they are
they're
a
okay.
team in the
They are
NFC East.
they are a football team if you
Yep.
want to get technical. So he picked Kellen Mond as his backup. That's whatever.
Congratulations.
Um, Alvin Kamara is a stud.
Yep.
You know, uh, he still has Terry McLaurin and AJ Green, and he got no receivers in the. I guess Terrence Marshall,
Yeah.
69. 6'3", 200. That's not bad. But
Yeah. He drafted
you
Devontae Brown, offensive line, signed Alex Mack, excuse me. Has Brandon Sharif still. I thought he had one more
he
rookie
did.
as well.
Liam
Yeah.
Eichenberg,
Yeah.
from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You
So, I
know,
mean, the line's
they're
not bad.
they're
It's okay.
they're okay. They're there.
Defensive line, we discussed this last time. Super, super solid. Definitely the strength of this team. The best
Yep.
young defensive line in football, hands down. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
The linebacking core
The
is
bad.
is bad. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's bad. Like, bad.
Yeah, it's up there with the Chiefs linebacking core is one of the worst. He's got Kendall Fuller, he's got Ronald Darby, he's got a lot of guys. Marco Wilson should be starting, 73 rookie. No dev, but he's 94 speed, so he should be the guy who, at the very least, is getting slot time.
Right, absolutely. And to round
Ha
out,
Hawkland,
Yeah, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Ha
It's
Ha
whatever.
and Landon, you know, they're guys. Like,
Yeah, he's got the
they're fine.
Alabama safety duo and Landon Collins and Ha. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. I'm picking the Cowboys here. I don't feel great about it. I just think,
You know, I'm feeling wild. I'm going to take the Redskins to win the division. The
yeah,
football team. I'm
the foot.
sorry, excuse me. The football team. I'm going to take the
Yeah, and
Washington
see,
football team to win this division. Like,
like
I don't know.
I don't blame
I
you.
don't I don't feel good about it, but like this division is just like, yeah, Jim's got, or the new user will have a lot of top end talent, but then they've got Sam Darnold. And honestly, in Madden, I'd rather have Dwayne Haskins right now than Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I agree. All right,
Ugh,
moving on to
ugh,
the NFC West.
ugh. The
We'll start with the
Arizona
Cardinals
Cardinals.
and Roy. Um,
Uh,
Roy,
Kyler Murray was second team.
yeah, second team all QB or AP, whatever it was called. He brought in Jordan Howard, Cesar Ruiz. RG3 is now his backup. Didn't have a ton of picks. He drafted receiver. Uh, I just had it. Trayvon Grimes. But I mean, his team is set already. He didn't really need anybody. I mean, if you're gonna say something like his offensive line is, the left side of his offensive line isn't great, but other than
Yeah, I
that,
mean, it's fine. Roy, I mean, they just lost to the Packers, which honestly, really not that surprising. Uh,
no.
you
Um,
know, uh, I think this is still one of the better teams. You know, I made the argument that they were a better secondary, but I forgot that Pat Pete was 31 and this isn't 2012, and he's still so.
yeah.
I will say this: he is the best young safety duo in the
Oh,
league,
hands
and
down. No,
you,
no doubt about it.
Byron Murphy is really good too. So
Yeah.
he's Roy is a playoff team, I think. Still, but
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I
but he's gonna
you
have competition because this next team, I think, is also a playoff team.
yeah. Well, I think Roy's the NFC. I think Roy's the NFC front runner to make the Super Bowl. If I'm being totally honest,
I
um,
think I would agree with that right
just
now
with
at this moment.
yeah. If Rodgers was still in Green Bay, I would probably say Will, but I just don't trust Jordan Love at all. And
Yeah,
Kyler Murray had a really great season. I feel like Roy still did improve his team in the offseason, even with little picks that he had.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, we can
So
move on to
the
the to Chris and the 49ers, who you could argue had the best offseason. I would probably say second best behind Kevin, but
yeah,
traded up
uh,
to get Brock Purdy, um,
yep.
which was
Which
really
was his
good.
one which was his one need, I think,
Yeah,
really,
I
because
agree.
he could have ran Huntley out there again
Sure.
and probably did okay, but Purdy's better
Yeah, absolutely.
as a passer.
Brought in Allen Robinson and T.Y. Hilton. Ty he got on a really really good deal, a very team
Yep.
friendly deal. Um,
Yeah.
Also, he had more picks than I thought he did. He had a ton of picks. He drafted a lot of like backup offensive linemen. Although Jarrett Patterson out of Notre Dame is starting from at right guard at 20, and of course he got Sewell as well, who he's playing at
Yeah.
right tackle, which I projected him to get Sewell. I mean, it was the right pick.
It was the only pick he could make at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. His defensive line is, I mean, I think his defensive line's the best in football for sure. And it's so funny to see how how these GMs build their teams. You get Roy, whose secondary is so good. And it's the exact opposite with Chris. Like his defensive line is just dominant. I mean, Armstead and Kinlaw are nasty. Bosa is Bosa, and then you have Quan Crawford, who's a stud himself. So,
Right.
and you drafted Amari Burney at left outside linebacker. He's a rookie. Fred Warner's back there. Greenlaw, his secondary is Chris' secondary is okay. I mean, it's Richard Sherman and Joe Hayden
Yeah,
leading the
and then
charge. But the
yeah,
thing
and
is,
then
like,
you know
if you're getting sacks in under 3 seconds, you don't have to cover anybody for very long. So
right now this is a really improved team just
yeah,
because Purdy being there makes this team so much better, and then now he's got weapons in Robinson and Hilton. I
yeah,
think Chris did a really good job, as I expected, and we were talking about it, and I forget where it was in a CM chat, and I said, watch out for Chris because he's gonna make a move for a quarterback in the draft, and
yeah,
this team becomes scary.
yep,
And he
absolutely,
did exactly what I thought he would.
yep.
So,
Let's speaking of making up moves for quarterbacks, let's move on to J Corb and the Rams.
yeah,
So
okay, that's right.
another just interesting offseason for J Corb. Trades for Drew Brees and also Jalen Hurts. Sent Jalen Hurts to
Dragon Camp.
Dragon Camp. Um, sure, you know,
I mean, he's a 75 overall now. He is a viable starting quarterback with that 86 speed and that 89, acceleration. So I
right.
get it.
I do
It
too,
wouldn't
but
have been what I would have personally done, but I get it.
I would rather just not trade for Breeze and just trade for, just trade
Hurts, yeah,
for Hurts. That's what I would have done. But also brought in Odell, so credit to him. I thought,
and
um,
Deontay Johnson.
yeah, and Deontay Johnson. I thought, yeah, it wasn't a steal, but I think he definitely was the winner of that trade with Cleveland.
Oh, for
I
sure.
know we had some debate about it in the TC chat, but I thought J Corb underpaid for Odell, so good for him. Now his receiving
Draft
core looks pretty good.
Yeah. He also drafted Josh Myers, the center, so he can play him at whatever, and Cade Mays, so he like really improved this offensive line.
Yeah, which I think
Um,
I think when we were talking last time, that was probably the major concern for J Corb. Also brought in Micah Parsons, which
yeah,
was the only pick to
great
make for
pick.
him. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
will give you a slow clap for that one
Yeah,
because that's a great
absolutely.
pick.
Yep. I think this defense is going to be really, really, really good again.
Yep, I think
Uh,
it's one of the best. I think it's another one where you could say it might be the best.
it might be. It definitely
You
might
know,
be.
because
They
just
also brought
having
in,
Aaron
yeah,
Donald,
yeah, brought in Greg Olson as well. We should just briefly mention second team All Pro tight end last year. So
Yep.
I think Corb's in good hands. I'll be interested to see. I play him week
I
one, so we'll see what happens. I'll be interested to see if Breeze starts out slow, if he'll switch it up and go to Hurts, which
yeah,
is what I think he should probably do anyway. But
right.
we'll see.
Uh,
Moving on to the last team of the night, the Seahawks. This was a really, this was a really solid squad who got beat
by
on
the
weekend
Falcons,
one by the
pretty
Falcons. Yeah,
pretty handily. Like it was pretty surprising how bad they got beat.
yeah.
Uh,
And they also had, I think, multiple offensive linemen retire. I didn't check to see who.
Dwayne Brown and Mike Upati both retired.
Okay,
Both second team All Pro guys.
right. He still has Russ, who's a 97 overall. Still has Carson and Penny. That's a good duo. I guess receivers now, where you're kind of like, I mean, he did bring in Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State, who's supposed to be good. I mean, he's normal dev, but I think he'll get a lot of run this year.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
he still has DK, so I mean
yeah,
he's got that.
yeah, it has
He
DK.
brought in
Yeah,
Eric Ebron. Solid move, you know. If you lose Greg
sign,
Olson,
yeah,
you know.
sign Osimile. Suddenly,
Yep.
this offensive line is, you know, not great.
Really bad,
Yeah,
really bad. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean he's got David DeCastro and DJ Fluker, so he could be playing one of them at left guard, and that makes this offensive line look a little bit better.
right.
You know,
Drafted Amilcar Rashad Jr., 2375 overall hidden dev. So he's pretty good. This defensive line is young outside of Jaron Reed. Um,
yeah.
The linebacking core, he still has Bobby Wagner, lost KJ Wright, but outside of Wagner, it looks a little bleak.
Brooks is all right.
Yeah,
I
Brooks
think
is
Brooks is
okay.
all right. You know,
Shaquille
um,
Griffin, Trey Flowers, Quentin Dunbar, his corners are okay. Quandre Diggs is okay, and then Jamal Adams. So I mean, you know, this team is good, but it's just unfortunate they're in the wrong division. Like you're just in a
this
really
was
really good division.
this was one of the best teams last year, and I think it's not the best team in its division. I think it's probably the third best team in its division now.
I would agree. Who do you
Um,
think's winning this division?
I'm going to go ahead and say that the 49ers win this division.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. I'm gonna say Cardinals. I'm gonna say
I think it's going
Cardinals.
to be,
I
it's
think it's
another one where I
close.
think it's really close.
Yeah,
I love Chris's defensive front, and I, I worry about, like, Corb, I worry that Drew Brees is the guy he was at the end of last season, or like for
Oh
most of
yeah.
last season.
I think it's
It's
make no
Cardinals. I
mistake.
was just
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
It's
Like
Cardinals and Niners.
yeah. I
Like,
mean, Corey
but
could make a run if I think the only way he can make a run is if he starts Hurts, but that's just me.
yeah,
But
but
um
and then I worry because Murray only threw like 5 interceptions last year. That's gonna go up.
yep, for
You
sure.
know, I worry that if it comes in key game, and he was bad against the division last year. I think he only went like 2-4. Roy did. So like I just worry that these teams match up so well that Roy might end up having to be a wild card again.
Yeah.
But he made a run
Will
to the NFC Championship,
yeah.
with the
Will in the CM chat says me and you need to put some respect on his secondary, picking off Kyler Murray twice.
see, and
Congratulations.
that's what I said. I said I was a little worried, but I didn't know the stats to that. But I worried that Murray was going to regress a little bit in that department. But
Yeah.
I think that we're in for a really good second season. A lot of teams that were good last year are still good, and a lot of teams that were bad got a
Yeah.
lot better.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see as much tanking at all this season. I think you have, I would say, probably 4 or 5 teams that are just bad because of, either lack of moves or regression or things like that. But I don't think you're going to see a fourth of the league actively trying to tank.
Yeah, I
Um,
think we'll see a lot more like 7, 9, 8, and 8 teams this season than last
yeah.
year.
But before we go, I did put in the chat if anybody wanted to put any questions for me and Kyle, Madden related or personal. And of course, they were all Madden related. Frowny
Oh, well, thanks,
face.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
I
got,
wanted to get to know you guys better.
yeah.
Jeez.
So we got 3 questions. One's from Cody, one's from Vince, and the other one's from Blair. So thanks to those guys for giving us some questions. We'll start with Cody's. Who are some breakout candidates at each position group for this year? So
So
let's do just
you
like quarterback, running back, and receiver because I think that's kind of what he was asking for.
so I think, and this might be a little homer in me, but I think
Mhm.
Tua is a breakout candidate for me. I think with just the receiving that I added to the team, I don't think anybody added more talent to what was a bad receiver room than I did.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I'm gonna go Drew Lock with the Colts.
That, that's not a bad one
Um,
either.
yeah, I think he's gonna finish with more touchdowns than interceptions. I think that Colts group is young, but I think Drew Lock is gonna really shine in Indy. The second
Okay.
question we have is from Vince.
Well, we didn't do the running backs or receivers yet.
Oh yeah, because I don't care about those
Uh,
questions.
running back, huh? I'm gonna go Ito Smith. I know he had a really good season last year, but he didn't have a lot of rushing yards. Let me check to make sure he's starting first, because if he's not starting, then I need to rethink about it.
Right
Um,
now it says he's starting, but that could change.
yeah, if he stays the starter, I think he could rush for 1,000 yards and catch for another 700, 800.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Marlon Mack with the Jaguars. I think Blair's going to
That's
try to replicate kind of what Cody did last year with the Patriots, and I think Marlon Mack is a good back. So I wouldn't
yeah.
be surprised if he had 1,200 yards and was in maybe doesn't make All Pro, but definitely is like we bring him up. But I'm going to say Marlon Mack.
And for receiver, I'm gonna go Jerry Jeudy. He only had 750 yards last season. He didn't get off to a great start today. He had 4 catches for 54, but he only had 727 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. I could see him having, 1,000, 1,100, and like 8 or 9 touchdowns.
Okay, that's a good one. Um, hmm. This one's so hard because there's just like so many really good
Right.
receivers out there. I'm going to go with AJ Brown for the Titans.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Stafford loves just to sling it around the yard, and I think Nathan is really good about putting his players in a position to succeed. So I think Nathan is going to be. I think he's going to be a little more balanced with Stafford back there. I don't think he's going to be running all the time. So I'm going to say AJ Brown.
Yeah, I like that.
All right,
It's a
now
good
we'll go
pick.
to Vince's question. Will
All
Trevor
right.
Lawrence live up to the hype, or will the Lions regret not taking the Saints offer for multiple current first-round picks and getting superstar players? Also, who do we think the best QB in the NFC North is?
Yes and no, or yes and yes to both those questions. Yes, I think he lives up to the hype, and yes, I think he regrets not taking your offer to get so many more players because he could have really stacked this team. But I think that Trevor Lawrence is probably the best quarterback in the NFC North.
Okay, so we have Minshew, we have Jordan Love, we have
And
Trevor
Kirk
Lawrence,
Cousins.
and we have Kirk Cousins. So
It's Trevor Lawrence, I think.
yeah, I'll say Trevor Lawrence as well.
I think it's close, maybe between him and Love. I got to see more of what Love can do. 1 touchdown and no interceptions isn't that impressive to me, Will.
Yeah,
Um, but
no,
but no, I think there's a chance that um, I think that Trevor will live up to the hype, but I think that there was so much he could have done with what you offered him.
yeah, it was a
That
lot. Um,
yeah,
I think he will
so
live up to the hype, but I think he'll regret it as well. But that's just me. Finally, from Blair. Blair needs a quality AFC South breakdown where the Jags win the division, which is not a question, but we can answer it.
that's
So Blair, I don't even think you need like that much help, to be honest with you.
no. I like honestly, I think Colts, Titans, and Jags all could win this division.
Yep.
Cam Newton rushes for another like 800 yards this season, maybe like 8 to 10 touchdowns. Marlon Mack has like something like 1,300 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns. Jamar Chase throws in a 1,000-yard receiving, and I think his defense isn't bad.
No,
It's not great,
definitely
but it's
not.
not bad. Like he's got his secondary could be really scary with Teron Pittman, C.J. Henderson, and Asante Samuel Jr.
Yeah.
So
I think the Jags win this division if Stafford isn't that much of an upgrade over Tannehill, and if the Colts take a
Lock.
step back on offense. Yeah, if Locke continues to be the turnover machine that he was last year.
yeah, I agree.
Okay. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. That's all the questions that we got for this time around. We
Yeah,
still clocked
we'll
in at
probably
under 2 hours, which I thought was nice.
yeah, it was good. We'll probably be back week and a half to do a mid-season review.
Yep.
So yeah, thanks everybody for coming in and tuning in. Love doing this for you guys. Love going through everybody's team. It's interesting to see, especially when games are going on, see teams make upsets and stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck to everybody this season. It's going to be fun. As always, if you have any questions about anything involving the league, please don't hesitate to ask myself or Kyle or any other of the CM team, and we'll get you an answer as soon as we can. And with
Yep.
that, we'll sign off. See y'all
All
later.
right. See you guys.